Welcome to one more segment of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Today we have Executive Director of Social Security Works, Alex Lawson. Look, folks, yesterday the president made one grave mistake, but the reality is that it was not a mistake. It is where the heart of the Republican Party has always been, but guess what? They finally found somebody who had the guts, the pelotas, to do what they really stand for. And right here with me, Alex is going to first explain to us exactly why is it that we have the Social Security taxes, the FICA taxes that gets removed every week from your paycheck. Talk to us a little bit about that, Alex.
So first, thanks for having me on to talk about this. And, you know, what we say is that Donald Trump is really just he's the id of the Republican Party. But he also says the quiet part out loud. The only real difference between Donald Trump and the Republicans that we've been seeing for decades is that they use code words and they tried to sneak around what they wanted to do, like destroy Social Security. But Donald Trump yesterday, he just said it. He said, if I'm reelected, I'm going to terminate Social Security. I mean, he just said the quiet part out loud. So what he's talking about is, first off, their contributions. It's the FICA, is the Federal Insurance Contribution Act, because it's our money. It's not, we don't give this money to the government to do with what they want. We pay into the Social Security system and we pay up on an insurance policy. It's wage insurance for if we retire and we lose our wages because we retire. And it's also $1 million of long-term disability insurance in case we face a life-altering event and become disabled and can no longer work. Or if the breadwinner of a family dies, the surviving minor children get life insurance. Again, $1 million in life insurance. This is an insurance policy, and that's what Social Security is. It's ours. It's our money. Nobody in D.C. gives us anything with Social Security. We pay for it. And what Donald Trump said yesterday is he's going to take the payments that we pay into our insurance policy. It's ours. He's going to just divert those and steal them. And then he said, and if reelected, I'm going to make that permanent, which means Social Security and Medicare go away. And that's the long-held dream of the Republican Party. The beast that they see, the only part of government that they hate is the part that is the people's absolutely 100% that they can't get their greedy little hands on. That's the part that they hate. That's why they hate Social Security. That's why Donald Trump said he's going to terminate Social Security if he's reelected.
Now, in the past, we had presidents like Bush who attempted to privatize it by taking that money and throwing it into the stock market. Tell us a little about that, because I want to migrate that into the reality of what they're trying to do.
So what it all comes down to, you go back to Bush, but you can go all the way back to Alf Landon, the guy who ran against FDR, and he lost every state in the union except 2. And it was a landslide of landslides because he ran against Social Security. That was his whole thing. And what he said is, it's just worthless IOUs. That was literally in 84 years ago, or no, 85 years ago. He said the same thing that George W. Bush said when he tried to steal our money and give it to his greedy liar friends on Wall Street, which is, it's just worthless IOUs. The same worthless IOUs that the entire international banking system is built on, which is U.S. government bonds backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. Government. So this is their tactic. It takes different forms, but it's always the same thing. They look at the giant pot of money that we've all paid into with our money, and it's sitting there in these really solid instruments, government bonds, for us and only for us. And they can't stand it. So they go out anything they can do to reach their greedy little hands into that pot and steal our money. So they either try to just give it away in a fire hose of money to Wall Street like Bush did, or what Donald Trump is doing is just if they destroy the program, just totally destroy it, all the money is going to go to Wall Street anyways because there will be no system otherwise. We built Social Security so that we didn't have to go to the greedy liars on Wall Street. Social Security was the response to the global depression that Wall Street caused with the collapse back in 1929, right? So like really picture what they're doing. Social Security was put in place because of what Wall Street and the plutocrats did then. And they've spent 85 years trying to destroy it by any means they can. And now what Donald Trump said is just a full promise. If reelected, I will terminate Social Security. That's what he promised yesterday.
What is interesting is there's another side as well, right? When you work for yourself, you and me, etc., we have to pay our full 15% or so, 14 point something percent of our wages in Social Security. But the kicker here is for the corporations who employ people. They are responsible for half of the Social Security taxes that people have to pay. Therefore, that is a big, because you know that the companies are not going to increase the people's salaries by 7.x%. They're just going to take that money that they no longer have to spend and either buy back their stocks or give it to as bonuses to their executives. Tell us a little bit about that dynamic.
So it's it's really important you bring up. It's just far stupider and more complicated than your setup, and that's part of the I think the plan here. This is not something that the president can actually do. So
Right.
He's using non-existent powers to instruct the Treasury to do something that it can't do because by law, Social Security has to do a bunch of things. And one of those is we get the premiums paid in, we pay the benefits out. So what his order actually does is instructs the Treasury to try to figure out a way to have people stop paying for an amount of time into Social Security. So for a small business like mine, it's a nightmare scenario. It doesn't say that we then get to keep the money. We have to pay it all back in December or January. So all we're doing is like, instead of the automatic withholding that we have to withhold and pay Social Security, we now have to take that and put it somewhere else in an escrow account, maybe. Who knows? We just don't even know. And then in January, pay it all back. So it is not at all stimulative to the economy because no business can actually give that money, even if they wanted to, and they don't want to. But even if they wanted to, they couldn't give it to the workers because they just face an enormous liability at the end of the year, right? It's not actually, the president can't spend money. So it's just moving the books a little bit. And it's so complicated and just like ill thought out that has to be part of the plan, because millions of small business owners are going to think that this is money that is given to them to spend on things, and then they're going to get hit with an enormous bill, a half of a year, right, all at once that they owe. Do you think that the Fortune 500s are going to like bank on if Donald Trump gets reelected and then moves the entire Congress to rewrite the system so that Social Security is destroyed completely and they're just going to spend the money? There's no way. Even if they want that to happen, they're going to just put the money somewhere until it's owed. And what that really does is the interest will go to the companies. And so giant companies can actually benefit from this. Small businesses are just going to get totally punched in the face by this. It's going to.
Let me tell you something, Alex. It's because this is important. I don't think a lot of people understand. First of all, Donald Trump is not smart enough to play chess. but the people behind them are. And what many don't understand is they don't necessarily care if the economy craters, if it means, as long as they get reelected. They don't care if small businesses put themselves in dire straits, meaning they are not as apt to what that you better bank that money. And if that money is banked, it doesn't go back into the economy. If the economy doesn't have money turning around, it stays stagnant. So what it is setting up many businesses for failure.
Yes.
Now, in that
exactly.
light, they don't mind that. Right now, with all the small restaurants failing, they're happy because McDonald's, after all these restaurants fail, McDonald's and Fridays and all the chains, they're going to have what again? More business.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like, I love staying focused on the fact that Donald Trump promised to terminate Social Security.
Right.
Everyone scream it from the hilltops.
Right.
He said the quiet part out loud. But on what you just said, that's absolutely right. People, I think most people, because most people are decent, they don't fully understand the sociopaths that we're dealing with, and that pandemonium, that chaos, carnage, death, hurt, and misery are profitable for many of these people. These private equity barons who are sitting with these enormous pools of cash on the sidelines, they're rooting for a full economic collapse so they can just swoop in and buy up everything they can at a fire sale price. They root as hard as possible for mom and pop shops to be eliminated, because then they're going to get that property. They're going to then lease it back to the big corporations, which they also own. This is what people don't understand about the feedback loop between politics and private equity, is the chaos that we're seeing is extremely profitable for those very few on top, the billionaires who have made tens of billions of dollars since the start of the pandemic. And we have to go into this understanding that that's who we're fighting. That is who we're fighting. And that is whose bidding Donald Trump is doing. Why would someone want to destroy Social Security? Because it works. It works for the American people, and it costs us less than 1 penny of every dollar that we put in contributions goes to fund the whole system. And that's what the private equity barons hate. They see that and they're saying, I would whack on another 25, 30% fees for a far inferior product. That's what they hate. They hate systems that work. And that's what we're seeing Donald Trump say the quiet part out loud.
Now, Alex, I don't want you to think this is a diversion at all, or that we're diverting, because I think one of the biggest problems in the way we do politics and in the way we do media in this country is that we don't do that. We don't connect the dots. We'll talk only Social Security, not understanding that that has a permeative effect throughout the entire economic system. And I like that you brought that in with the barons and so forth, because without doing that, people simply don't understand that they're all connected. These things are all connected, and we have to look at it in sort of a total form. So I think that is very important. Now, what I'd like to hear from you now is let's pin down to the people that are getting Social Security right now, and specifically, let's go from the 60-year-old odd, because they have a tendency to fall for much of what the conservative mantra would put out there. I need a direct message why it is the current plan, the current administration, the current policies of the Republican Party is a clear and present danger for them.
Absolutely important and critical. It's the truth is, I'm going to give you the very easy, but these are back of the envelope, right? Because we need to actually, the problem with chaos for profit, like Donald Trump is pursuing, is that we still need to figure out many of the impacts here, because it's Social Security is huge. And what he's proposing is just taking the money away, just stealing the funding from it, which means that Social Security goes away in 2 years. That's what it means. So for a 60-year-old, 65-year-old, 60-year-old who's planning on taking and hopefully looking really closely at whether they should take early retirement at 62 or wait until full retirement at 65 or 67, or even delay until 70, because that all affects your benefits. But for those people who are thinking that, so 2 years, for those people who are on Social Security right now, 2 years, that's how long Social Security can last with no revenue coming in, because it's got a dedicated revenue stream. And that's what Donald Trump is he's proposing removing it. And he's saying, oh, we're going to just defer it until the end of the year. But if I'm reelected, I'm going to terminate it. And we've seen that this guy does not care about what's legal, what is in his power. He does things that are clearly illegal, right? He sends federal troops to just snatch people off the streets. So thinking that we're going to be protected because in fact he can't do this or that, he's going to try. And in trying, he could destroy the system or damage the system so much that checks stop going out, that people, right? Look what he's done to the post office. You used to be able to count on the post office so much so that it was that courts, if it was filed in the U.S. postal system, they said it was going to get to where it was going legally, because that's how well the system worked. He put a crony in charge of it, and now it can take 2 weeks to get a piece of mail from A to B, because he's destroying this country. So what does it mean for a person on Social Security? We don't fully know yet. The ramifications of what this is going to do are not fully understood, because we don't know how are they going to operate when they don't have money coming in? What does that mean for the workers who are trying to get benefits for people? Obviously, Social Security is going to do everything it can to keep checks going out to every single person who has earned their benefits. And remember, for 85 years, through boom time and bust, through war and peace, through health and pandemic, Social Security has never missed a payment. And they're not going to start right now, but that is over the best attempts of Donald Trump to create a situation where Social Security could not fulfill its obligations. And that's the goal. That would undermine people's confidence in the system.
For those people who really think we have the trifecta, the legislative, the judiciary, and the executive managing or checking each other, I want to remind folks of one important fact. A few weeks ago, I wrote an article stating that we are changing our system from minority rule through the judiciary. Donald Trump is appointing a whole lot of judges. And for those people who think, well, we can elect Donald Trump again, and the judiciary would keep him in check when he tries to do illegal things. He is currently in this administration appointing more judges than any other president has. And as such, and because he's appointing cronies, many of his rules, whether constitutional or not, the federal, or rather the judges are the arbiters of the Constitution. And if they say it's constitutional, it is constitutional. Let me hear your take on that, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the power corrupts. And the more power he's accrued into the executive, the more corrupt it is and has become. But the thing, it's easy to see how corrupt he is. I mean, he's just like a straight criminal. Him and his family are looking at this as, how much money can we make off of this presidency? They're trying to sell off everything that's not nailed down and then, use a hammer to pry that stuff up too. But the other part of corruption that's important is that corruption seeps out. Corruption enters the system and it corrupts all who come in contact with it. Everything that Donald Trump has done in the bureaucracy, in the judicial bureaucracy, in the federal bureaucracy, the executive bureaucracy, it's all corrupting, because the people who he's putting in place, they see what's going on. They recognize what's happening. They understand that their only path to maintaining power is to protect the man who gave them that power, Donald Trump. Not the system, not the U.S. Constitution or the United States of America. Nope. They bow to Donald Trump. And that's what he has done. I mean, look at Bill Barr. Jeff Sessions wasn't enough of a bootlick for Donald Trump. So he put in place a guy who has warped the fundamental fabric of the American judicial system to serve his master, Donald Trump. So the first thing is, everyone who just has this weird belief that it can't happen here, it is happening here. We're halfway through it happening here. This is how a republic falls. This is how it happens. One man sees that he needs to destroy the system in order to protect himself and his little criminal operation from the ramifications of what he's done. And that's what we're up against. That is who we are fighting against at the ballot box in November. But
Alex,
luckily, go ahead.
Marching orders on Social Security going forward. How do we march forward and make sure that this doesn't become a reality?
Ring the alarm as loudly as possible. Let everyone know. He literally said he was going to, if reelected, he's going to terminate Social Security. So we have to beat him at the ballot box. What I was on my soapbox saying is that luckily, as this man has tried to burn down the system, our democracy is standing. Our voices are powerful. We need to use them. We need to vote him out of office in November, and every one of his enablers, every one of those senators who should be standing up right now for the United States of America, but instead are empowering Donald Trump, all of them, fire them in November. But we also need to do more, starting right now. Call your senators, call your elected representatives, call everybody and tell them that they better keep their hands off of Social Security. It's our money, not theirs. Ring the alarm as loudly as possible.
Alex Lawson, Executive Director of Social Security Works. Thank you for having been on Politics Done Right. And thank you for being such a hard worker, 7 days a week.
Thanks.
I'm Egberto Willies, host of Politics Done Right, an independent news program. I post several news videos of interest every day. I ask you so kindly to subscribe to my channel, and please leave me some comments. Thank you very much.